So here's the latest. The post-NFL draft power rankings are out for both ESPN.com and Vegas, but there are a few differences here, so stay with me. The top 5 from ESPN.com are the Patriots, Panthers, Packers, Seahawks, and Cardinals. However, the Vegas top 5 has the Seahawks on top, followed by the Patriots, Cardinals, Steelers, and Packers. Skip, which ranking do you think is more accurate?
Stephen A., obviously the most glaring difference is that the Vegas ranking, I always have respect for it, has Seattle at the top, #1 overall, while ESPN.com has the Seahawks 4th. I'm with ESPN.com on this one. I cannot make the case for Seattle post-draft, that's the point here, after your draft, vaulting to #1. Let's quickly look at the Seattle draft. They drafted the tackle out of Texas A&M with the last pick in the first round. Nice pick. Then Jaron Reed from Alabama, 2nd round. Very nice pick. Mel Kiper gave them a B+ for their draft. Nice draft. Life-changing? I think not. I could be wrong, but I don't see it. Then let's look at what's gone now from Seattle. We think Marshawn Lynch is gone. I don't know that for a fact, but he says he's retired. What a huge loss for that team, not only on the field, but as you well know, in the locker room. What a force he was. On offense and in the locker room, he was a one-man legion of boom all by himself. He was the driving force of that offense. Obviously, Russell Wilson has emerged as the star of the offense, but that's a big loss emotionally and physically. No Bruce Irvin anymore. No Russell Okung anymore. And then Jimmy Graham wrecked his knee. We think he'll come back, but he never seemed to quite fit into the flow of the offense, even when he was healthy. So I look back at last year and I say, Seattle should have lost that game in the cold up in Minnesota, except for the missed field goal at the end. They did lose that game. And then they went to Carolina and fell behind 31-0. They fought back and lost 31-24. That's the team that's #1 over the New England Patriots, who added Martellus Bennett, Chris Hogan as a possession receiver on offense. Amendola took less money to stay with the Patriots. And then they traded Chandler Jones for Jonathan Cooper, an offensive lineman who's pretty to very good, will beef up the offensive line protection of Tom Brady. Obviously, Chris Long's on defense. Terrence Knighton added on defense can only help. And then LeGarrette Blount returns along with, I think, a healthy Dion Lewis in the backfield. That's pretty great to me. So, to me, that team got better, as Tom Brady will stay the same at age 39, I believe. So how can you argue Seattle over New England the way the Vegas ranking is arguing? I don't get it.
Well, you're going with the ESPN rankings. I'm going with the Las Vegas rankings. Why? Because I think your pick is emotional and mine is not. We're talking about top 5 teams, or 1 to 32, but we're focusing on the top 5 primarily, and all you can think about is who's at #1 and who's not. I'm thinking about overall your top 5. If you're Vegas, you've got Seattle, New England, Arizona, Pittsburgh, and Green Bay. I've got no problem with that whatsoever. I understand. I'm looking at them and I'm saying here, okay, you lost Irvin, you lost Okung, your left tackle. I get all of that, but I still look at Rawls, who ran pretty well in Marshawn Lynch's absence last year. If he could come back from that ankle surgery, I like that. I also love the fact that I'm looking at a Russell Wilson that has emerged to the top echelon of quarterbacks in the National Football League. I hold nothing against what their struggles were in Minnesota. Those temperatures, it was damn near illegal to be playing in that kind of weather, for crying out loud. The football probably felt like a rock. I mean, it is what it is. So, and then they went down to Carolina. Yeah, they were down 31-0. They were getting blitzed. It was embarrassing. But I recall them coming back and making a game out of it before losing 31-24. So when I look at it from that perspective, I find myself looking at Seattle. I think that they're a team to be reckoned with, and I want to give them their respect where it's due. When I look at New England, would I put New England #1? Probably. But if New England's #1 and Seattle's #2, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I'm looking at Arizona, for example. Kim Dichie, Bruce Arians got to calm him down in practice because he's blowing over everybody. But they still got a crew. They still got Calais Campbell. They still got Patrick Peterson. On offense, you still got Carson Palmer. You still got Fitzgerald and Floyd and all of these boys. You still got Bruce Arians as your coach. I think they belong in the top 3. I'm looking at Pittsburgh. How in God's name is Pittsburgh not in ESPN.com's top 5? With that offense, offense. I know the defense is suspect. There's no question about that. But I'm looking at this offense and what a juggernaut they can end up beating. Losing Martavius Bryant really, really annoys me. I'm disgusted by that. But Le'Veon Bell coming back, D'Angelo Williams coming back, still Big Ben Roethlisberger is your quarterback. Antonio Brown is coming back. He's not concussed any longer. Last time I checked, Vontaze Burfict won't be hitting him anytime soon. I expect him and Wheaton and those boys to be okay. At number 5, do I need to say it? What is it, Skip? Do you want to say it with me?
No,
He's a bad man. And we're talking about Jordy Nelson coming back with Cobb and the crew.
I thought he was the
and
bad
Eddie
man.
Lacy. Eddie Lacy no longer has a pot belly. He's gotten rid of the fat. He's lost about 15 to 20 pounds. I look at that and I say to myself, Vegas seems to me that they're closer to having it right than ESPN.com. I understand that the Panthers are number 2 on this list. How can we dismiss Cam Newton, especially when Kelvin Benjamin and those is expected to come back with the crew that they have in place?
Yep.
But I think losing Josh Norman is going to be a huge, huge loss for them in their secondary. And I dare say that their defense may be a bit more challenged in this upcoming season than they were last season. I think last season it was destiny's ride. I don't think a ride like that is going to happen for them again for a while. I'm not saying they're going to fall off the map, but I can see them going from 15-1 to 12-4 or 11-5. I can see that happening. So I just look at it and I say, I'm going to roll with the Vegas ranking here. And I'm going to think that's more favorable towards accuracy than the ESPN.com rankings.
Okay. Back to your Green Bay point. Mostly last year, your bad man was just bad by his standards. Let's just keep that on the record. By his standards. And by the way, I'm starting to wonder whether Jordy Nelson might have made Aaron Rodgers more than vice versa. I'm just
that's just you being petty and antagonistic with your nonsense. That's all that is. That's all it is. You trying to take a shot at Aaron Rodgers. That's it.
Should I call him arrogant Rodgers? Arrogant, remember that?
Ain't nothing wrong with little arrogance.
Okay, yeah, nothing wrong.
Ain't nothing wrong with little arrogance. He's Aaron Rodgers. He's entitled.
Yeah,
he's entitled. If he could, did you just say if he can back it up? Is that what just came out of your mouth?
Because he didn't back it up last year.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Back to the top. Back to what really counts. What matters is that ESPN.com says the New England Patriots are number 1, but you say no, that's not true. So
no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it's possible. I could flip. I said I don't care if they or Seattle are number 1, but overall I like the top 5 of Vegas overall than I like ESPN.com's top 5. That's what I said.
Okay, but can you make any case for Seattle at this moment in your mind being better than New England? If you can go 1-2-2-1, give me your case. Show me where New England's deficient. Show me that receiving core. Show me how Gronkowski and Edelman, when you add Martellus and Chris Hogan and Keep Amendola, tell me how that's not firepower that Seattle does not have. I'm sorry.
Well, you might say they don't have that, but I'm thinking of Russell Wilson being the dual threat that he is. I'm thinking about the fact that they struggled defensively last year because of Cam Chancellor's holdout and that first half of the season it took them to get their bearings under them. I'm thinking about 5 fourth-quarter leads that they had that they lost. Things could have went this way. Things could have went that way. I don't anticipate that that's something that's going to happen this year, this time around. I can see Seattle going 12-4 this year. I think Arizona is their lone threat. I'm not worried about the Los Angeles Rams, no disrespect to Les Snead, but and I say Les Snead because when it comes to Jeff Fisher, 15 playoff omissions in 21 seasons, I don't even want to talk about him, okay? And don't get me started with Chip Kelly and the San Francisco Niners. They don't even deserve to be called the 49ers for crying out loud. Matter of fact, why don't you call them the San Jose 49ers, considering how far their stadium is from San Francisco? Why don't you do that? Well, anyway, whatever, Santa Clara, wherever the hell it is. The point is, in the end, it comes down to Seattle and Arizona having to fight for supremacy in the West. I think about Seattle, and I'm thinking about the fact that they were playing on their home turf. Things might have been better for them. And if you could use the argument that the New England Patriots are nearly unbeatable in Foxborough as a reason to decry how come they miss Super Bowls from time to time, I can use the same argument in recent memory for the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay. Now, final point, where I also much agree with ESPN.com over Vegas ranking. My Dallas Cowboys are 11th in ESPN.com and 15th in Vegas. How can you not have them at least 11th after they drafted Ezekiel Elliott? to add to the firepower, the new triplets of Romo
because
and
they
Dez,
did nothing with their
offensive
defense.
line.
Because they did nothing with their defense.
Yeah.
I understand Ezekiel Elliott is going to help, but they did nothing with their defense, and that's why. Because people are looking at them and they're saying they're dominant and awesome on one side of the ball, but they're highly questionable on the defensive side of the ball. And by the way, since you wanted to bring up one of your points, allow me to bring up one of mine before we end this segment. When it comes to Aaron Rodgers, that dude with the off year, okay?
Yeah.
31 touchdowns,
Yeah.
8 interceptions, okay? And he completed, I mean, it's bad because he only completed 60% of his passes.
Yeah.
But 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and a QBR of 64. That
Not
is the
very good.
definition of a bad year for Aaron Rodgers. That's all I'm trying to say. That's a good year for 75% of the quarterbacks in the NFL. But for Aaron Rodgers, I'll give it to you, that's a bad year. You know why? Because when you're a bad man, we expect more. That's
You know
all.
what?
But let's be clear.
truth
Let's put it in perspective.
You were
Let's
a much badder man in that soap opera than Aaron Rodgers was on the field last year. You were the bad man.
Well, Brick is a bad boy.
know,
I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Oh.
You know, Sonny Corinthos. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, this is what we do. This is what we do. But he knows what Aaron Rodgers is.
He's the
He
tech scoundrel or whatever he is.
Oh,
the techie,
stop. The Cowboys
right?
at 16. That's what you guys do. Defense wins championships. Let's go
Yeah.
to break here. LeBron James trying to avenge his last year's finals loss, but it's the loss to the Spurs that he still has an issue with. I will explain after the break. Stay here.